Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boy Knits Woolcast, coming to you deep from the Canadian forest.
This is Christopher.
And this is the other guy,
Jamie.
We just came back from a road trip to the Hudson Valley.
Cakepalooza, anyone?
Woolen Folk.
And the main attraction, the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, better known as
Rhinebeck. And we've got some stories about an RCMP officer and a tutu.
a tutu.
And dinner with the grocery girls.
Yes.
So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and we'll share our stories. Hello and welcome back, viewers, and welcome new viewers.
Bonjour mes amis.
We just came back from a road trip, and it was a 4-day road trip. We were heading down to the Hudson Valley.
Specifically?
For, everybody knows it as Rhinebeck, but it's Rhinebeck weekend now. It's bigger than just the event, the New York Wool and Sheep Festival.
Come on, get in my video. Tell me something about you. Hi, this is the fabulousness. Tell us about yourself.
I'm one half of Cabin Boy Knits. That's the other one
didn't
right
know.
there. There's the Cabin Boy Knit there.
That is so awesome. I think I follow y'all already.
Ah, there you go.
See? Yes, those boots, baby. Go!
I walk better in these than I do in runners. What's the matter?
I mean,
Yeah, that's...
would you just look at those legs?
I know.
Don't bend over. Oh my God.
Before we get into this, we need to talk about the trip. I was so excited about Cakepalooza, but we were in the car. Okay, we just came back. For viewers who didn't watch an earlier episode, we just came back from the Prince Edward Island Fiber Festival that didn't happen because of Hurricane Fiona. So we
You're
just
not
came.
supposed to mention that word.
Well, we just came. It was the F word.
That was
It's the F word. So anyway, we came back the next week or the week after. We were heading down to Hudson.
It's all turning
Hudson
into
Valley.
like one long, very long road trip with very different, rewards in the end.
Yes. So we were about an hour north of Utica, and
Utica.
Utica, New York.
Yes.
And because the trip from our place to Hudson Valley to Rhinebeck is only 5.5 hours.
Which is relatively short.
Yeah.
I know if you're over there, over there meaning, the other side of the ocean or somewhere, if you drive for 5.5 hours, you could pass through a couple of countries. But in Canadian terms, that's relatively close.
It's a neighbor, basically.
We're going to another state because it's actually longer for me to drive to my hometown.
It is, yeah.
So
it's basically a next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So we're heading down south to, we're an hour north of Utica, and I get an Amber Alert on my phone.
Oh, gosh.
And then Jamie gets an Amber Alert on his phone, and we look at it.
It's usually missing. It's in Canada. We get them every now and again. Unfortunately,
For missing kids.
It's for missing children. So
Yeah.
the Amber Alert. I'm thinking, well, that's odd. Why are we getting this down here? Why is this picking up? I'm thinking from Ontario, Canada, and we're midway into the States.
Yeah.
And getting an Amber Alert.
Yeah. So anyway, we got this, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's a tornado coming, and what are we going to do? And so you were driving.
I was driving.
And so I was looking on my phone and Googling
What do
you do when you're driving on the highway and there's a tornado coming.
Yeah, and no, they're saying there were tornadoes spotted and tornadoes in the area.
Yeah.
And it says to find shelter. It even explains if you're driving, get out of your car and do something, which we're like, what? We don't normally, we don't normally have.
Where's your drink?
I need my drink right about now.
Oh yes, we forgot. Yeah, so I'll fill in the blanks while you're sipping.
So I'm driving because I'm like,
Or not.
are you kidding me? And I'm looking at the sky, so I'm looking straight ahead, but I'm also kind of going like this and thinking, the sky was very dark that way. And then, I don't know, we just thought, we just kept driving.
We thought we could outrun it because I've watched the movie Tornado before.
I have too.
And I'm pretty sure we could
And I
outrun
didn't
it.
want to see any flying cows or tractors in front of my windshield. So,
but we were
a little bit freaking out.
But we were up in
So
the
high up.
Adirondacks, and you could
So
see
high up.
around, and we could see the cloud. We could see where the weather was, and so I figured, okay, well, what are we going to do? So let's just keep driving and see if we drive out of the
Well, there
tornado.
was other we're following some traffic, so no one's pulling over, and I'm thinking, I don't know. And then at one point, it was all down this side, off to the right, and then at some point you looked, and it is now in our rear view mirror.
Yes.
But we were still getting we got the Amber Alert several times, so we had traveled a bit of a distance and still getting this alert about tornadoes coming in through this area.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, and then you Googled what to do, pull the car over, and go into a low lane area or something. So I'm like, okay, do you lie down flat in a ditch? You try to go under a bridge. But
there was no one else doing it, and so I was looking. Was Laura Dern in that movie?
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
It's one of my favorite disaster movies ever. I liked it when the big sign comes blowing down from the movie. They're
I was looking for flying cows.
at the drive-in movie, and it's like, folks, do you not notice a little bit windy outside, folks? Until they don't notice until the big screen starts falling apart and the big whatchamacallit
the flying
sign.
cows.
And yeah, that's my favorite is the cows because I love that animation that they did or whatever you call it. Early days of
Yeah. So anyway, it didn't come. We didn't see any other drivers pulling over and rolling into the ditch. So we figured that we'd be pretty safe. And we were heading south, and it didn't look like it was following us. It looked like we were south.
And did we? I mean,
we were in rain though.
And it did rain. But then did we even check? Like, we can't be making light of it. Do we even check if there were tornadoes that touched down in the area? I didn't see anything on the news that came up.
But we didn't have the news on
anyway.
though. We didn't have
no,
the
but
news
following that, you would see that. It would pop up in our feed that
Here's my favorite part of the story, though.
What's the favorite part of the story?
There was traffic. There were traffic people, or I don't even want to call them, the people with the signs.
I almost spit my decaf coffee out. Yeah, decaf, folks.
So there's basically two people with signs. And you know when they have construction on a highway and there's only one lane available, and you have a truck that will come and pull everybody through, or direct everybody through, and then it'll turn around and drive everybody back. Yeah, so there was a person on either end of this construction zone, but it wasn't really a construction zone.
And this was right as we're just moments ago get the Amber Alert, and we're like, let's get out of here. And so we're following the line of traffic, and
and then she stops us. And there was only 2 cars ahead of us. We just sat and waited for 10 cars to come this way.
Yeah.
2 cars ahead of us go that way, and she stops us.
2 cars ahead of us go through, and then she goes like this, and she stops us. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you just let the whole lane of traffic go. There's only 2 cars. And I thought she was kidding or something, because I kept going. And she's like,
she
with the
right
sign, she says, she's like, no, stop, I'm the boss, kind of thing.
So I asked her to...
my mind is going, I don't understand why we waited this long and you only let 2 cars in. And in my mind, there's a tornado behind us trying to catch up.
Yeah, so we asked her why she stopped us, and she said, I don't make the rules, I just enforce them, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I said, well,
and
what is the rule?
She was the boss.
What is the rule? Is the rule
she said
to let 10 cars through and 2 cars this way?
Says is what goes. And I thought...
And so then I rolled the window back down, and I said, there's a tornado watch. So you have to watch out for it, because there's a tornado coming. And she said, oh, stop your whining.
And we were just stunned, and like, what? And then the other guy at the other end, he's just standing there kind of thinking what's going on. I said, your coworker's not very nice. And he said some sort of something. And I was like, what is going on? This is a movie. I'm in Twilight Zone right now.
Anyway, we did get to our place in Saugerties, New York, and we shared it.
Tornado free, thank goodness. Because we're thinking, because we were kind of going, oh, okay, so, we just went through that little windstorm back on the East Coast, and now you're going to tell me I'm going to have to dive into a ditch because a tornado's passing through? Seriously, folks, what next? That was going through my head, and I'm driving, which... Yeah,
that's an event in itself. But
oh gosh, I'm like, seriously, this isn't happening.
So we arrived in Saugerties. I've never been there before. It was beautiful, very nice town, and we were staying with friends. And the other thing was, it was a gorgeous house built in the 1800s, and there were 6 of us, and there was one washroom. And I knew about that before we left, but I didn't tell you because I didn't want to. I would be stuck in the car with you for 5.5 hours, and I didn't want to hear it for 5.5 hours.
TMI, I have bathroom issues. We're not going there, but it's on an episode of Seinfeld. Let's leave it at that.
So anyway, we got there, and everything worked out. It worked out fine. We were with some wonderful people as well.
Yes.
So it was quite nice.
We had a little cocktail, I think.
Went for dinner.
When we got back.
Oh, we got into our onesies. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Onesies.
Sophie made onesies for all of us.
She brought them along.
Yeah.
And they were like,
they were quite nice.
They were like
very comfortable.
They were very much,
Cabin Boy Knits theme.
They were like plaid.
Yeah.
Cabin-ish, and we all got cozy and sat around and had more giggles and good times.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then the next morning we woke up and we were on our way to Cakepalooza.
The first event.
And we were supposed to be there by 10 because our time slot was 10 to 12.
Oh yes, because
they were selling them in time slots.
Yeah, time slots, like crowd control, because it was a smaller venue, and they wanted to be very, everybody could mingle and schmingle and move along through it very comfortably. So it was good.
Yes, and I made a big mistake.
What did you do?
When I showed up.
What did you do? Oh.
I did not dress in Cabin Boy Knits drag. I completely forgot.
Drag.
Yeah, Cabin Boy Knits drag, the checkered shirt. So I showed up, and Robin said, "Where's your buffalo plaid shirt?"
It's like, aren't you Cabin Boy Knits? Because you wear plaid. You wear plaid, remember?
And here's the other thing. So because we had the specific yarn for the show, Robin had these little ribbons that she wrapped around in buffalo plaid, and she had stitch markers as well. And they are available, by the way. I'll put a link in so you can see what we're talking about. And Robin said that she held a few back, so there are some more available, so you can check those out. So we went to Cakepalooza,
right?
And an RCMP officer arrived in red boots.
Well, I think he was very much official. He was there for the crowd control.
Yes,
apparently.
yes. Well,
That's what I was told.
We have footage of it, I think, where he said that he was there for crowd control. Yeah.
This one's having a difficulty speaking today.
I am, yes. And so, anyway, he was a big hit there. And I noticed him in a lot of photos.
You did?
I did, yeah. And I think that person, the RCMP officer, did a great job of crowd control because it was great. People were happy, shopping, talking to one another.
Yes, we met a ton
of people. Of course,
and we met so many people who, showing the love and the hugs and wanting to just say, hey. There was a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the highlights, of course, along with all the wonderful vendors and Yarnbirds for hosting us and having us there.
Yeah.
And so that was Cakepalooza that day.
Yeah, but I actually picked a few things up while you were... I don't know where you went. You took off in the afternoon, and I didn't see you there. I only saw the RCMP officer.
I went to see Sophie.
Oh, okay. Well, I went and bought a few things. After our shift was over from 10 to 12, I went and...
Did I even see any of this stuff?
I'm not sure. But Amanda Solomon,
okay,
who I love, and I saw her in an interview at first, and she's a great spinner, and I love her energy, and I kept imagining that her energy would be captured in her yarn. It's great. Okay. And so I was really excited. Fun. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. And she actually studied...
What kind of yarn is this? It's really fun and chunky, and there's splashes of color throughout.
Yeah.
And so what is it?
Well, I was just talking about her story for a second, which I love.
Story behind
She's
it
connected to the farms, and she's worked at farms. I think she works at farms in the summertime. And her creative outlet, one of her creative outlets, is spinning, and you can tell it's great. And she has high energy. She's a high energy person. And so I was really excited to see
How
her.
excited were you?
I was super excited. How about you?
I can't keep track of all.
Well, you had the camera because when I bought this, you were filming.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just going to keep it on. And I made one other purchase as well.
You did?
I did. It was a bag.
Do I remember this?
Yeah, I would hope so. Tanny Casey.
Oh, yes, because you told me it cost $1 million. And I thought, oh, do you really need another bag? As one does. It's right there behind another skeiny yarn. Close. Well,
it's great. Really. I used this all weekend. It was fantastic.
You did use it all weekend. It's lovely.
And we have a connection as well. Yep, she lived in Toronto for a while. Oh. And actually lives, I think, around Philadelphia. But these bags are great. Everybody knows who she is. Okay. And it's wonderful. It's a fantastic bag.
Yeah, very well made, very sturdy. And these divots hold everything together. You got the secure straps.
Yeah.
The beautiful woolen material here. The plaid.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And did I show off this yarn? What's enough in there?
Well, you still didn't talk about the yarn.
Well, I don't. There's no label on it, so I don't know what the fiber is. I think I asked her when it was there, and maybe we captured.
Well, it's soft.
It's beautiful.
I can see blues in this fluorescent.
Yeah, so it looks like there's natural. It's basically
the rest looks all natural to me.
Yeah, except for the green, fluorescent green.
And there's some blue. There's flecks of blue.
Oh, I didn't see the blue.
Well,
yeah,
a little bit.
She spun locks into it as well.
Here's another color.
Yeah,
a little blue and purple.
So Jamie's wondering, what am I going to do with this? I think this will look nice.
Oh, it'll be fun.
In a cowl. It'll be beautiful.
I think it'll be really cool as a cowl.
Yeah.
I love that kind of wool because I knitted once or twice with that type of chunky, just wildly spun, whatever you want to call it. And I love that you have all this texture to it, and it's kind of bulky and fun.
It's great.
Cowl.
So that was the morning. And a little bit of the afternoon.
Yeah, part of the afternoon too, I think, because we stayed there a little longer than we wanted to, because we then, after we were doing our thing at Yarnbirds, we wanted to go check out some of the booths, which is what we did.
Yeah. good because Felicia was involved and Brooklyn General Store.
Okay.
So, but I had no idea it was going to be this good. It was amazing.
It was
amazing.
Incredible, I thought.
And so
yeah.
I was trying to think about what the experience was like that day, thinking about all the things we did at
Overall?
Woolen Folk, no, just at Woolen Folk. And to me, I felt like Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
Because in the best way possible. It just seemed like a dream sequence to me. We had all of these plans of we were going to interview people, we were going to talk about certain things, and we got there and it was just sensory overload in the best way. And we met so many people and we're talking to so many people.
And that we just went with it.
We just
enjoyed our time there. And it was just, right from the get-go, like you said, because as soon as we were walking up, because we had to do a bit of a stretch because it was busy. There were police officers' cars directing traffic.
Yes.
And we were about a half a kilometer or a half a mile. I don't know the distance, but it was a bit of a hike.
I would say we were half a mile, so 800 meters.
To the actual event, and I'm like, we're not anywhere near the site. And I'm like, where is this? And they were direct stopping traffic there and then upon arriving, you could see the old brickworks and some of the buildings. And then just as we're entering, you could see this beautiful venue with the tents and the lights and the food and the people, and it was just like, wow. And it was right on the water, which I didn't even know. And it was like, what?
It was gorgeous.
It was a sprawling event. It was very, very exciting.
As soon as we walked in, Zandy Peters is there, and Zandy has a QR code that they knit. And I said, who knits a QR code? And it worked.
That actually works. Just scan it. It was about this big.
But I would say talking to Zandy was probably one of my highlights. Zandy's amazing, and I love the way they think, and just
quite
incredible.
Smart and witty.
Oh, wonderful! So that was nice, and then so we actually got into it, and what it looks like, it's a bunch of tents, basically. Would you say, or individual tents, and it's underneath a roof, but it's open on the sides, so you can see the river, you can see the outdoors, you can see the light.
Big steel and wood structure roof, which would have been, I think it looks like, because there were some of the old warehouses there as well, the brickworks warehouses.
Yeah.
And so, this one was all completely opened up with a concrete floor, but just a big open pavilion, huge, on the water.
And I was there with the RCMP officer and the tutu and the boots. And so it was like a magnet, walking with a magnet. There are people all over the Mountie.
Because we also, you forgot to mention that part of, for a bit we were going to say hey to Dolphina as well. And so when we were at her booth, we were kind of trying to represent Canada and Cabin Boy Knits all in one to make it Canadian.
Yeah. So we carried that theme through to Woolen Folk. And honestly, it took us an hour to get from the
first booth
to the end of the booth, just in that aisle. It was crazy, and because we ran into so many people that we knew and people that we didn't know, and we loved talking to people. So we were talking to people, and any idea I had before that was just completely thrown out the window. And I was just immersed in conversation, and everybody was in a great mood. Everybody was in a great mood.
And people we hadn't seen since the last time we were at Rhinebeck, which was, over 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so, that we had met there for the first time.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely wonderful.
And people that we, Amy, for example, the Bien-Aimée.
Yeah, we saw recently.
We saw in Montreal.
We saw all kinds of
Brooklyn Boy Knits.
Yes.
And that was nice to see too.
Caddy
Jacks, yep.
And
Kevin and Ray.
Yes.
And did we see Chip there and Aaron? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Yes, because we saw them at Rhinebeck as well.
Yeah, because they were doing a little chat there.
Yes.
We did chat with them, and we saw.
Well, Ray and Kevin were doing a chat.
Are you forgetting? Are you forgetting your American wife?
Oh well, of course. I was going to keep a whole section for that.
Saving that. Oh yes, because we will have a little chat about
Yasmin.
Yes,
Yasmin for sure. Whenever you see Yasmin anywhere, she has the best smile in the world, and just makes you smile. Well, make some people cry,
smile,
or tear up.
And did we see? And then I'm trying to think. Did we also see
Gigi?
Yes.
Got to talk about Gigi. So I am a big fan of Gigi's. And
We just have so many people. I hope we don't forget. We're going to forget people. You realize that.
and so, big fan, and read her posts and whatnot, and just think she's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so she was standing there, and people were kind of just hovering around her and talking to her, and I thought, well, I'll wait for my turn to come in. So I kind of stood outside, and then when people left, I walked up to her, and I knew what I wanted to say to her. I had it in my head, and then my emotions kicked in, and I couldn't spit it out.
Oh my gosh!
I think they had a few tears, and I was so embarrassed. And so, anyway, I managed to spit it. I don't even know if I did or not. I can't remember what I said because it was a big. I was just overwhelmed with everything. And then,
did we see? And then we chatted with the organizers.
Yeah.
And
Felicia.
Yes, and did we see Julie Esley there?
Well, we saw.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we saw the owners of Espestrico.
Oh,
the
yes.
new owners and the former owners.
Yes.
Yep, Sandra Yarns is there.
Mm-hmm.
And bring it their beautiful yarn. And yeah, we saw.
Did we see? Oh, I'm confusing the two because when you're in the crowd, and I'm trying to imagine, we were in this crowd, or we're in the crowd over there, or we're in that crowd at the other event.
Well,
so it did. We talked to Rosehaven.
Yes, Leslie was there as well. But just back to Gigi for a second.
Okay.
So I was recovering from Gigi after I was trying to spit something out and sound somewhat articulate.
There was all this commotion happening over here, and I don't know who I was chatting with, but there's this whirlwind of emotional whirlwind going on over here.
Lola Bean came over and gave me a hug, and I think that brought me out of the state I was in.
Snap out of it.
And then I was talking to her lovely husband. I know you were talking to someone else because you didn't meet him, and so we had a good conversation about a lot of things. So that was fun. But we didn't.
Still,
one thing we didn't mention.
Just the other guys, so
I think we're so excited about spitting all this stuff out. I forgot something at Cakepalooza, and that was the grocery girls.
Well, no, I wanted to say hello as soon as I saw them come through the doors. So, plus, I was already trying to take a photo of the Yarn Daddy, and that's one of the first booths. Yes. And I was over there because I had just had a conversation with them about their booth and their brand and all of their product, and so I was having a full-on conversation, and then I was just about to walk back because we were just across, and
yes, and so
the grocery girls were coming in.
Yeah, but
Jodi and Tracie.
Yeah, but as soon as they come in, though, there's always a flock of
so
people
they didn't
around
get
them.
more than 5 feet in the door.
You're
there's no door, but
they
just stepped in, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, it's Jodi and Tracie, including me.
And me.
Yeah.
And so they came over. And
you were over there, and I was trying to point over that. Would come and say hello, but I
was worried about losing.
They were doing their thing.
I was worried about leaving my stand. I was supposed to be standing, selling my wares.
Yeah, don't be stepping away from your station.
So anyway, they came over, and Amber Alert was with them, and so we couldn't get near Jodi and Tracie. So
they were chatting quite a bit.
Yeah,
they were doing their thing, which was great, and they finally did make their way over, and we had a good chat and hugs all around.
Yes,
and it was.
But that gave us an opportunity to talk to Amber Alert, and Amber Alert. So Amber Alert. Where does she fit into the story? She is part of the Grocery Girl posse. So she traveled with the Grocery Girls.
I wasn't catching on. Amber
Alert is her Instagram.
Okay.
So anyway, I started talking to Amber, and she just had she came back. She had to come back.
She was funny.
Like
we thought they were she was their official road manager. I really did. I was like, I'm like, what's the Amber thing? And I was like, she's so fun and she's so cool. What's she all about?
Oh, she's awesome.
But I thought that she was. I was like asking you. I said, well, is she like okay? Let's move along over here now. Yeah. We got place to be and place to go. Let's move right along. And I thought she was sort of managing them to get through. But she was just hanging out. She's one of their besties, and so she's often with them. So she knows the drill, and she knows it's going to be, how this is going to go walking through the venue.
And she's super fun. She's
hysterical.
Yeah, as soon as she opened her mouth, I thought, okay, we're going to be friends.
So did we also see them now? Did we see them at Woolen Folk,
Okay.
because they were speaking. There was also one of the main events there. They had all these guest podcasters, if you want to call them, YouTubers, who that's not what you call them.
They have YouTube channels.
They were all the celebrities had a space for themselves to themselves.
Needles at the ready.
Right,
Yeah.
is the other one, but there were a few others as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Who you could go to
and
this
the grocery girls.
open area, and they had their, they were doing a meet and greet and giving their chats, and everyone was welcome to that area of the event, which was fantastic. So I know that they were going to be there, so I don't know if we ran into them there or not, because it's a blur.
We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't. But we did receive a text from them.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Well, we thought we were going to be there because we did get there a little later, as we mentioned, and we thought we'll be there an hour or two. And next thing you know, the sun was already starting to set. There was live music. There was good food. There was that installation that was like being on a subway.
That was really nice.
That was very cool. There was so much to see. Like I said, it was totally sensory
overload. But it was great food, and it was music. People were dancing.
I saw a couple of people dancing.
I saw a few people dancing.
It was so much fun.
And it was such a wonderful
It was a
atmosphere.
really feel good event. It was a beautiful setting, great layout. It was really, really exceptionally well put together.
Yes.
Which I just expect, like, when it's sort of an off sort of site event, you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
In the past, there's been others we've been.
Yeah.
Yes. There have been others in the past that have been great events as well. But this one just seemed it just seemed like a step, that much of a step up. It was so well produced and put together.
And I didn't buy much. Like they
had
had
time for buying.
The vendors were phenomenal. So they had like the who's who of indie dyers there, and they had great vendors, and so it was a perfect place to shop. But I was I don't know where I was. I was off in Wonderland because I was just absorbed by the people, and I was so happy talking to people that the shopping part didn't really happen. Oh, it did happen. Oh, I did get something.
You did.
I did. With Yasmin. So my daughter.
Is this the only thing you bought at that whole festival?
No, I bought some yarn too.
But this was a destination.
Yes.
Right? This was a go-to. A booth that was a must that we knew we were going to go to.
So here's the story.
There's the story.
Yeah, my daughter called up and she said, "Dad, I've got some earrings. I'm doing an earring exchange with Yasmin." I said, "Oh, that's great." And so she's going to ship them down to Yasmin, and then I picked up the earrings for Geneva.
What was the exchange? What was the exchange earrings?
Geneva, they were beaded. So Geneva has been doing bidding. Well, I did say my daughter earlier, and then I figured people were
listening.
I should never assume. And so anyway, she just she does amazing beadwork.
She does, which is new. She's relatively new to it. She's studied and practiced it, and she's been doing a lot of beading.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
In traditional beading, which is a native style of beading, correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Which is wonderful.
Yep. And so she did that, and she communicated. She sent a note to Yasmin and said, "Yasmin, would you like to do this exchange?" And my dad's Christopher from Cabin Boy Knits, and Yasmin said, "Oh, honey." She said, "Oh, it's so nice to hear from my stepdaughter." Because Yasmin is, I was going to say mine, but I think she's opened up the relationship to she's our...
well, you're her Canadian husband.
I'm her Canadian husband. But what are you... But
I don't know, I'm
you
the
are too.
Step-husband. Something like that. Like the other guy. I'm the other husband.
Yeah. So anyway, Geneva was saying...
Is that what she said?
Yeah, so Geneva said, "What are you talking... What?" And I have told this story to Geneva before. Okay. And so Yasmin said, "Oh, don't worry about it, just ask your dad. It's a long story." But, so anyway, she was also really busy in her booth as well. I think she had a great show. So the earrings she gave my daughter are these.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I almost
stunning.
wish that my ears were pierced so I could wear these. And then I went back and bought some more.
Yes.
I love these. I think these
The
are
colors are
fantastic.
incredible.
Well, I love all of them.
Yeah.
And then she
And
started
they're also
making
very
these,
unique.
these.
Yeah,
Those are really nice too.
These button ones, which are fantastic too.
So for
Great.
people who don't like to wear long ones,
Yep.
there's short ones as well.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And you know what's funny is because we were standing at the booth just here from her. You know when you have that feeling like, eyes behind your head? And I just had that feeling and I was like, and I kind of slowly turned my head and I look and I'm like, and there's Yas with her great big smile. She's just sitting there waiting. And she puts on that big smile like, oh my God. And then we just went, Yasmin. And it was hysterical because she was just being all coy, just sitting there waiting till, like, if you turned your head this way.
That's too funny.
It was really good.
Yeah, so it was, I think all in all, it was amazing. We had a fantastic time. So we closed the place at 7 o'clock, and then we were walking back to our car. Remember, it was 800 meters away or half a mile.
Oh, it was way down the road.
And your feet were killing you.
I've been standing and walking. But, you think about it, in everyday life, unless you're working in an event like that where you're, hanging out at your booth and you're on your feet the entire day, which when we're at festivals with our booth, you're expected. But when it's just thinking you're just going to be here for a couple of hours and there for a couple of hours. But then we had been on the go since like before 10 a.m. and on our feet from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. Like almost, how many hours is that? I can't count fast enough. Many, many, many hours. And I thought, when do we stand and walk for that period of time? A lot of it was with the walking.
Sure. Yeah.
So then we had to get to our car and it was parked way down the other end of the road. It was getting dark. Wasn't it getting dark?
It was getting dark, yes. The sun had set. And
then we had a message.
Well, before we had a message,
what
we were on our way to the car.
And what happened?
And someone had to sit down on the ground and take their
on a big
red boots off.
They did?
So picture this big Mountie sitting on the side of the road on a rock.
I do remember him on a rock.
Taking his boots off in a tutu. And so we met a couple earlier on that day. He was wearing this phenomenal cabled sweater and a kilt.
But you said you want to knit something like it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Because it looked great with his kilt.
And I think his wife, she also had beautiful knitted objects on.
Yeah, and somebody introduced us in one of the crowds. They were there with someone else, and then we all started chatting early on.
But here's what I did. I'm so ashamed of myself for this. I'm so ashamed.
Were you? What did you do?
Yes, this is so sexist. When I saw that gorgeous sweater he was wearing, I assumed that she made it for him, but which is horrible.
That's right.
Because we complain about this all the time.
Men don't knit.
Because men don't knit. I was so embarrassed to myself. And anyway, then I was told that he was the one who knit it. So
he knit it himself, which made it even that much more like, wow.
So he was so...
kind of like when I knit a sweater.
Strapping and dashing in his sweater and kilt. So they come driving up and they asked us if we wanted a ride.
Well, the car pulled up. It's like, need a lift?
Do you need a lift? Yes.
Pretty much.
Because
what?
It's pretty sad when you see an RCMP officer in a tutu flopped on the ground holding their boots.
Well, it's usually the RCMP that come to the rescue of stranded folk. In this case, it was the opposite.
Yeah. So we hopped in the car. We said absolutely yes.
Yes.
And it was almost like being in a glamour.
It was way farther than you think.
It was probably like, maybe closer to a mile.
I think it was like a mile.
Yeah.
Because it was way down that stretch of road. Then you cross at the lights, which you're now in the little town or something. And then it was down that little stretch of road after that.
Well, I think that half a mile feels like a mile when your feet are throbbing.
It was a distance. And we got a ride. We got a lift.
Yeah. And they had this wonderful basket in the middle with food,
and
we were
starving.
And so I was focused on the food in the middle.
I don't remember that. I remember that you mentioned it, but I didn't see. I can't picture it. I didn't see it.
So we got to our car, and the grocery girls sent us a note and said, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner?" or something like that. And so we went back and forth, and then
we talked about trying to get together for a drink or something.
Yes.
And we said, "Well, we haven't had dinner," and then we said, "Well, we're still just here. We're still at Woolen Folk." And then they were still at Woolen Folk.
They were still, yes.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we're here. Where are you?" We're like, "Well, we're down the road." And we're like, "Where are you?"
So we went into Kingston for dinner.
Yeah. So then we met up. We made it work. We caught up. made a plan, and we went to Kingston for dinner at. We just Googled an Italian restaurant randomly.
It's one of the most famous.
Well,
ones
how
in
did
Kingston.
that work out? Because did we randomly Google it and then we went there?
Yeah.
No. Yes, because we stopped at the side of the road and then we Googled
under a bridge.
It. We Googled it and I said, there's an Italian restaurant which shows a municipal parking lot right in front of it. And I said, we could park there and there's an Italian restaurant right there and it looks quite good. So we parked the car. We each parked our cars and then off we went into the Chinese restaurant.
We went to the Chinese restaurant for Italian food. Very good.
I should have had a real coffee. Had baiting.
So we went in and it was wonderful. They're so nice. Super, super, super nice. And it was like we've known them forever. It was just a free-flowing conversation.
Oh,
and
it was fun.
lots and lots of laughs.
Laughter.
We had the best waiter in the world.
More laughter. And
Sean.
So it was Jodi and Tracie and Amber.
Yes.
And you and I.
Yes.
Is that everybody?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and Sean the waiter.
Right.
Yeah. So it was great. The food was phenomenal.
It was very good.
I'm going to put a link to the restaurant because
It was
the best meatballs I've ever had in my life.
Oh yeah,
They
everybody
were
was raving about the
incredible.
meatballs.
Yeah.
The meatballs. Everybody had to try them. But it was very good. And you can see on the wall that it had been, celebrities had been there as well.
Yeah.
Quite some big names. The photos on the walls with the signatures and the pictures of having been there.
Yeah.
So it turned into an amazing night because we've met Jodi and Tracie before.
And in Montreal at Knit City.
That's right, but it's always, they're doing their thing. We're at our booth, so we're quite busy. It was nonstop, so it's like, oh, hey, and, hugs and chats, and it's all very quick. It's always the same thing when we're at festivals, too. It's always so fast and quick. That's why at this event in particular, like you mentioned, you did do a lot of filming, but because we just want to enjoy ourselves, and we were chatting and meeting people, old friends, making new friends, and people from all over the place, all over the States, all kinds of people from everywhere, and we enjoyed it. So, getting together and saying, hey, we could actually sit and have a really good chat and a glass of wine and a meal, that was really wonderful and a fantastic time spent. So we wanted to make that happen, and they wanted it as well, and so it was wonderful to just have that sit down meal and then really just shoot the breeze. And it was like I said, it was like talking to old friends, just like going, hey, like catching up with someone you've known for 20 years. Which I would have been very, very young back 20 years ago.
Very young. I was just stuck out on the you lost me hey.
It's just like
that was
hey.
You're always teaching gay linguistics on this show for hello. That equals hello.
No, we're just chatting. Like it's just like I'm trying to say, we're just casual. It was just very casual. Like you've known them forever. Like,
yeah.
And they said the same thing afterwards, And so laughs, got to know each other, got to know a little more about each other, I think. We asked a lot of questions, but it was just more just chit-chat, wonderful.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
With a wonderful meal and wonderful company.
The other thing, you could tell that it was wonderful company because we were exhausted. And I imagine they were even more exhausted because they actually had to work that day.
Plus they had flown in, right?
They flew to Montreal and then drove down.
Oh, right. So that's what I mean, though. Their trek there was a lot longer than ours, and with a time difference as well. So adjusting
they had
the time difference, they were definitely probably way more tired than we were, for sure.
But it was fantastic.
It worked
never
out,
have known.
It worked out just randomly. It worked out well. We were both right there. We were just like, let's do this. And it worked out wonderfully. And that Jodi, she's naughty. Right? And Tracie, she's all sweet and innocent like, but is she? I don't know. They're both, sisters, but different.
Oh my gosh. You were naughty for saying that.
I know, I just purposely said I would say that.
Bottom line, punchline, they are amazing.
Yes.
We love their watching their YouTube channel because they just the interaction between the two of them is just fantastic. And they're like that in real life. That's
they're
the
them. They're them,
yeah,
and we're
sure.
us. I think we're just us, and they're just them, which makes it wonderful because what you see is what you get. And I would say that that's been one of my many mottos is like, this is
what you see is what you get. Did you invent that saying?
No, it's so cliche, but it's like this is it, folks. So take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. So our next story is all about Rhinebeck.
Oh, we're not even there yet.
The New York Sheep and Wool Festival.
What's this episode about? Right. Rhinebeck.
We're super excited to be here at Rhinebeck 2022, and we can't wait to get in.
I'm going to see people I know and make new friends. You just watch and see.
Let's go take a look.
Okay, so the next day we went to Rhinebeck. And
Rhinebeck,
the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, also known as Rhinebeck, because it's in Rhinebeck, New York.
Yes.
So it was Saturday, yes. So on Saturday we went there, and
kind of me.
and we got up late, and I think because we were so exhausted.
Didn't.
Well, you didn't, but we left the house late.
That's right.
And
I'm up at the crack of dawn.
Yes. Who's Dawn? Dawn was not in our. Anyway,
I got up really early.
We were up. Well, he was up early. We left. We got there at around 11 o'clock.
I had my tea. I was anticipating a chat in the morning. It was all building up for hours before anybody else got up. No, Sophie's up early as well. Yeah, so she's up just after me, or I think on that day she was up before me on the first day.
Thank you,
and
Sophie.
So we had a little chat.
Yeah, excellent.
She took the edge off that everyone else didn't have to,
endure.
Something like that.
So anyway, we arrived at about 11 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock on the hill is where people who have YouTube channels and other people meet. And so we were there at noon. I will say Saturday, it's all about people, and it's very difficult to shop on Saturday. There were 50,000 people through.
Well,
on
I've heard
Saturday.
different numbers. I've heard that number, and then I've heard like
my numbers
40,000 or 45,000.
Mine is from a very reliable source.
Oh,
So it's basically
he's
fact.
got the insider information happening. There were a lot of people, and I would say, like, do you really think like difficult to shop?
Like Jamie, you could not go in some of the vendors' booths.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
You could not go in. Well, because you don't shop for yarn.
I was thinking, this is nice. This is nice.
There was also, we went to the donut shop.
We did. Well, we went up
donuts.
there because we thought, hey, has anybody, we talk about the wool so much, but those donuts, if you're going to have people, hundreds of people lined up for hundreds of hours, literally if you add them all together and how many people and how long they stood there for hours to get those donuts, why don't we go take a close-up look at these donuts and how they make them and what is it about these donuts. Fortunately, we couldn't get a chance to talk to the people because, making the donuts, because they're busy making the donuts, because there's a whole lot of people waiting for the donuts. Well, and then
we cracked that, we solved that mystery of why it takes so long to get a donut.
Yes, we did.
2 of them plop off at a time.
And then they stop.
And it's like you're watching
and then
it
they
in
stop.
slow motion.
And then they plop. And then if you buy a dozen, could you imagine how long you're waiting for that one dozen? Because a lot of people will buy for friends and other people there. They're going to take them back home to have with people that, are donut worthy, like the knitting worthy, donut worthy people. Yes. If you're going to stay online for those donuts, you better damn well be worthy of these donuts, like me. So, so we're filming.
Well, that's
some
true
of the donuts.
though. That's true because you ended up being donut worthy.
I was by a lovely demoiselle. She was like, other guy.
Did you say donut moselle?
Donut moselle. She says, would you like a donut? The other guy. I'm like, what? But that would be fair. Yes. Please. 2.
I'll give one to the other guy.
But I was thinking, okay, there were people waiting there a really long time. But we were videotaping some of the action up close and personal. And, yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
So
I will say the donuts are amazing.
I slipped her a few dollars I said yes, but no. Here, you go ahead and sure. Thank you so much. And
the donuts were fantastic.
We got to try the donuts as you can see, and we met a few fascinating people. Some were at the events prior to that.
Yes.
On the Friday.
Yeah.
They had been to the events. They said, I know you. I saw you there. You and the other guy.
Yeah, we met a ton of people. And
so it was wonderful.
It was. But Saturday was overwhelming for me, I think. Because it was...
Yes.
It was to get any food. Like I
part.
waited over an hour in the sun
about
for food.
I think.
Well, it was. I was the one standing there. It was probably. You're right. It was probably an hour, but it felt like longer than an hour.
I said I came back to say, come on out of the sun and go.
Yeah, but you can't stand in the sun.
Well, we went. Yeah. Anyway, it took a while. That I have to say,
not really.
Was we're there. You want to be there to shop. You're excited about meeting vendors, chatting with people, buying wool. I mean, we're there for the event, and so when you have to take that time out, and all you want is a quick something to keep you going, or actually you want a decent, you need food intake. It's lunch. We've been there for hours. That was a little bit of a disappointment having to wait, and yeah, that was.
I don't know how you get around it though, because there's so many places.
Yeah, there's so many vendors. I don't know. There's like maybe 24 food vendors. There's tons of them, but then there were more and more people there. So that's just the way it was, which is fine. We know there's going to be a crowd, but this year was exceptional. I think following the period we went through, that this was exceptional for everybody was out and it was a beautiful, gorgeous day.
So here's my advice. My advice is this: check the weather before you go. Because that's a big thing. Because a lot of people had big, bulky sweaters that they had to carry because it was so hot out. The other thing is, if you can go Saturday and Sunday, that's great. That's because you get the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Saturday, you can just look at people's what they're wearing, talk to people, and just that part of it.
You'll get into most of the booths. I mean, you get in them. It's just it's a little crowded, and you make your way through. And if there's one that you want to be in, you'll make your way in.
Yeah, so that's exactly opposite of what I was going to say. I was going to say it's people watching and having fun, and then if you can go Sunday,
But
Sunday is the day to go shopping because
Absolutely.
the booths are open. You can walk and talk to the vendors
Yes.
that are there, and it's really great. So if you have the luxury of going both days, I would suggest doing it.
Yes, because Sunday is just so much different than the day before.
Absolutely, yeah. So Saturday was crazy. I felt just in terms of the people,
again overwhelming,
and so but we were there until the end of the day, 5 o'clock.
Gosh, it was like we were there all day. We met some wonderful new friends, old friends alike, same thing. Met some great people. Chatted with many who just just warms our heart, makes our day, and puts smiles on our faces, and it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Up on the hill, meeting so many people, seeing friends again, and making new friends.
Well, and friends that I only see once a year on the hill. Like we have, there's a group, and I've known them for 10 years, over 10 years now, and they're guys who go to the knitting retreats, and we meet up on the hill every year, and it's so wonderful to see them.
It's nice to see.
Yeah.
Yes, nice to see them, and part of the group, and as part of a lot of people up on the hill.
And people were just so happy. And people were wearing their knitwear, and
incredible! And that's the thing.
So
it's
nice.
Just a fashion show everywhere you look. You just turn around, and there you have it. Yeah. And do you remember the woman who she was doing a photo shoot in front of one of the barns?
Yeah, we have pictures of it.
Yeah. And so her with her wonderful outfit. And do you remember what it was for?
No.
Oh, I sent you the link.
Oh.
It was an article. I think you'll have to double check, but it was an article for the New York Times.
Oh wow! Jeez.
I might have gotten that wrong. But it's a top New York. You have to Google it.
Okay, well I'll check the link
there because,
and then we'll put the link in this episode.
Someone sent the link, or I saw it on Facebook, and it was like that was the reason. And could you believe it that the New York Sheep and Wool Festival made it to the front, top story.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's huge. And the other thing is, when you saw
it's all because of the comeback with wool and knitters and knitting and this whole revival in sorts of why it's so popular and wonderful. And here's this festival that's been going on forever, and they've finally given it sort of due, acknowledgement in this wonderful publication.
And when you see all of the cameras that were around and the lighting, you knew that it was not just some small publication. It was because they had a lot of money around that photo shoot.
Yeah, she was wearing an incredible.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was so good.
Yeah. So, did you do any buying?
I bought something.
We did do buying on Sunday. We did. Yeah. So,
Yes.
what did your Sunday purchase look like?
Well, I have it right here. Let's see. Let's start with this. I'm going to pull it out. I don't want to get it all messed up because it's already sort of getting messy. And it's like, tell me what this is, pray tell.
Wow.
Oh.
It's a wig.
It could
gorgeous.
Be. It could be.
Gorgeous.
Oh. It's a hat.
It's beautiful.
It's a hat. No, it's not. It's an entire, I don't want to pull it apart because it's coming apart as I do it. But see these long lustral locks? Could you see those locks hanging down? And the colors? This is all hand dyed, and it's the entire fleece of one sheep, and
it's amazing.
It's partially felted to keep it all intact with all the natural locks that were dyed individually. It's incredible, and I'm going to make something with it, and it's Wensleydale, and we know that it's your new favorite yarn to dye with because it's super this is incredibly soft.
It is gorgeous.
It's luxurious, and it takes to color so well because you dyed some of yours with it. And then I got this to
No, before you show that though,
What?
here's part of the amazing thing about this.
And tell me, where's it from again?
Windsong Farms.
Okay, because I don't have the tag on it.
Yeah, Windsong Farms, and this is dyed. The locks are dyed on the fleece. So she didn't add the fleece to this. So when you open it up, it's a big rectangle, and she individually dyed these locks, and it's just stunning. It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's whatever you make it, it's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just gorgeous.
There it is.
It's beautiful.
As you see.
I love it.
And then, I don't want to, oh my gosh, that almost went in my coffee.
You don't want that to happen.
No. And then I got this to go along with it. Because somehow I loved this
That's really
blue,
nice too.
because blue is obviously my favorite color, blue, and more blue.
Because it makes your eyes pop.
And so, I don't know, but I feel like it's going to be a part of something special. Oh, why does this stick to? Oh, this is almost acting like Velcro. This sweatshirt, it's acting like Velcro. It's totally sticking to it. Anyway, this is something
Looks
that
beautiful.
I'm going to add to this project somehow. I'm going to put.
It's gorgeous.
It's also just the felted Wensleydale, and felted down the middle, and then
I felt it on this side.
I
It's
felt
nice.
it over here, and it felt real good.
Felt it.
I felt
I
real
felt
good.
it, and it felt really strong.
Oh,
Soft.
that's gorgeous. I love it.
It's gorgeous. Oh,
I mean, it's made to be
feels
just.
so
It's made to be
nice, too.
as is. It's obviously
It's
to cover
beautiful.
a neck covering, but I'm going to incorporate.
it.
I'm going to
I love
incorporate
it.
it into something special with this.
Gorgeous.
And you might see this at Rhinebeck next year.
I think that's going to be your outfit. But just staying on the farm. So I also picked up a Wensleydale blend, and it is wonderful. It's really nice. Because Wensleydale, again, picks up color so beautifully. And so these are both naturally dyed.
Oh, we talked about Wensleydale in the past,
Yeah,
so
I love them.
it's absolutely beautiful.
So I can't wait to knit with this as well. I was really happy. It was great. What a great.
Yeah, the colors are beautiful.
And I have a feeling, I'm
Did
pretty
you
sure
say they were naturally dyed as well?
Yes. Yeah.
You could tell.
Yeah.
You could see these colors.
And I've purchased. This was another vendor that I was a return visitor. I have talked about them in prior episodes. The Great Farm and Gorgeous Yarn.
Yeah, they were quite nice.
So that's not the end of it. There were a couple more.
Mhm.
One of them I want to talk about is this one, which was a nice surprise.
Okay.
So Laverne from Busy Peach.
Yes.
Do you remember? Do you recognize that name? The little books that I have, the Cabin Boy Knits books,
Yes.
which is her #1 seller.
Okay. I
she-
knew that name.
But she's expanded and she's gone into dyeing yarn as well.
Okay.
And she has a fantastic story, and she's agreed to be interviewed in a future episode.
Fantastic.
So she basically dyed a bunch of yarn. She's selling yarn. I'm not sure if she has yarn that's sheep specific, but she's dyeing cotton and she's dyeing other non-sheep fibers.
Non-sheep.
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And this to me feels like cotton. So I purchased this kit.
Yeah.
But I just want to go back to
That's
Laverne
silky.
for a second.
It's kind of very silky.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is for sure?
So what I wanted to say about it was when I was looking at her yarn and she was matching it with sweaters. And the interesting thing is when you look at, she has a size chart for her sweaters from small or extra small all the way up to, XXXXX large. And so when you buy your skein of yarn, the yarn per unit gets cheaper for if you have to buy more skeins for larger sweaters. So for example, if you're wearing a
bigger
small,
project.
let's say you're wearing small, your skein could be $30 each for the small sweater because you only need like 5 or 6 skeins. But if you're extra large, then you're going to need more skeins. So she has reduced the pricing per unit of her skeins of
So
yarn.
it sort of makes it, because that kind of almost
I think that's
makes it
so
like
great.
almost like a fairness thing. Because
Yeah.
if you wanted to knit, and you could, or it could just be a larger project too. It's like, but I see what you mean. Because if you're going to even knit, like you say, why would it cost that person that much more money to be making a sweater that so and so one person wants to make as opposed to another?
Yeah.
And so it sort of brings that scale kind of like an average price for your sweater.
Yeah.
Overall.
And
That's a great idea.
Yep, and then
So
she
what
was
is
with
this?
Tanita. She partnered with Tanita from, and there's a special note on the back too. Thank you for your purchase. So Broke and Crafty, and Broke and Crafty make bags, project bags.
Okay.
And so this project bag, the yarn was dyed to match this project bag.
Is that how it works?
Oh, and you know what else she?
Wait a minute.
You know what else
What
she did?
is this? I thought this was like a kit.
The yarn matches the
Oh.
gumdrops
They didn't
on
even pull it
here.
out.
Well, I haven't done that yet because I'm really excited about this bag. And you know, I've said, because how many times have I said to you, why don't people put metal zippers on their bags? Because they last longer.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
Thank you for doing that on this bag. It's fantastic. It's great. And so
that's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
It's raindrops or gumdrops falling from the sky.
Yep.
It looks like candy.
Yep. So these will go inside of here.
And you're not going to show people that you don't care.
Of course I care.
The yarn that you didn't see, the fiber that you didn't see is going in the bag now. But how about we go like this? Hey, look. Does that look like a rainbow colored something something? It is. It's beautiful. There you go. Stick it in the bag.
And you know, it's great. I'm not sure what I'm gonna. Maybe I'm not sure yet. It'll be interesting. I like these little projects where you've got mini skeins and you can do so many things with them.
So is that like almost like a full skein combined? Like
I think
like you know, like you could like make something like with it.
I had an epiphany. I think I know what I'm going to do with these now.
Okay.
I'm going to take black and then I'm going to knit black on the outline. You know, similar to the Stephen West flying or painting bricks. Yeah, it'll be similar to that.
Something like that with these colors.
And you know how I got that idea? I got that idea through their logo.
Oh yes, because it has the black.
It's got the black outline on it.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
He says so.
So that's good. That's great. I was really excited to see Busy Peach has branched out and she has so many great things going on and I can't wait to interview her. So that was wonderful.
Okay.
So that's it. Oh, that's not it. I actually did something else. So when we were...
He did it again.
Oops, I did it again. This is my last purchase I'm going to talk about. And that is with Prada Delana.
Oh, our friends at Prada Delana. Everybody's a friend, though.
Yeah, who are our vendor neighbors.
They were.
In Twist.
Yes.
So I meant to buy something from them.
We've met them many times now.
Yes. So Amanda and Alberto. And I was about to buy something from them in Quebec when they were our vendor neighbors. Yes. And I forgot because
you did?
We were so busy. So, actually, you were behind this. You were behind the cash more than I was. But I forgot. And so I went back and bought this.
A little bit of wool. So tell us more about that.
Okay.
Purchase.
So this leads into another story. But this is a very quick story. Oh, what's in here? What's this?
Is it like a candy
Maybe
surprise?
it's a love note from Amanda.
Is it a candy surprise? What is it?
No,
Are you supposed to pull it out?
No, I better not.
No.
I'm not sure what it is.
No, you'll make it... Well,
anyway, so when we were away
candy?
in the Maritimes...
Oh, what is that?
I don't know. I think it's a love note from Amanda.
Well, it's probably something... I don't know.
Or maybe it's Alberto.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so we were in the Maritimes and... I had, yes, a couple, I guess it was a month ago now in September, and there was an art show in September. The dog's giving me looks.
Is it his dinner time or something? Because he's giving us the evil eye over there.
Anyway, we were in the Maritimes in September, and I was involved in a show, an art exhibit at Maison de Poivre, and it was...
But that was in the Maritimes?
No, I know that we were in the Maritimes when this show was on. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if I'm not figuring it out, I don't know if they will.
Well, they were probably listening. And so
you're probably right.
Anyway, so just to set... So there was a show, and it was called Positive Masculinity. It was held at Maison de Poivre, and it started in September and ended in October. And so I contributed to that show. And this, I think, that's the 5th year that I've contributed. And so, anyway, my piece sold...
Yes, it did.
At the show, and so...
You're very excited.
Very excited, and so I had a chat with them and said, well, what do you want to do from here? Do you want to... So they basically said, well, we want to represent you, and you have a piece in their gallery, so I'm going to be buying this.
Like each time when they have that...
No, just ongoing.
Oh, that's fantastic. You didn't tell me that.
I know. I don't tell you everything.
Wow, that's a big deal.
So I'm going to knit this, and I'll show you what I knit.
So that's why you had this in mind, that you were going to get more of this type of yarn.
Yes, because it's perfect for the project.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I will post a picture of what was at the exhibit.
And then you'll tag the wool suppliers.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
To say,
yep, yeah, no, usually do. Yes,
that I made with your wool, and they'll be like, "Oh my goodness." Let's just leave it at that.
So another vendor that I gravitate towards every time I'm there is Solitude Wool.
Solitude.
Yes, and if you've watched earlier episodes, every Rhinebeck that I talk about, I'm always going to this.
All the Rhinebecks that you've been to? You
all the Rhinebecks I've been to. I've always
been to
buy something.
I've been to 2 now.
You've been to 2.
It's my second one.
And so there's a couple of yarns I want to talk about.
Okay.
So this is Lamarama.
Lamarama.
Bananarama Lamarama. And it is half llama and half Romney. And it is wonderful.
Oh yes, I remember this one.
And for those of you who haven't watched the episodes earlier, Solitude Wool is a fantastic organization, and they've got a great dyer, Gretchen, who's one of their dyers, and they source their fiber from the fiber shed in Chesapeake.
Okay.
So a fiber shed, for those of you who don't know what a fiber shed is, it's basically an area that's a defined area. And so in that defined area, they'll have farmers, sheep farmers, or alpaca farmers, in this case llama, and it's processed and within that area, that defined area. So you get your fleece, you get your mills, and you really work within that area. That's the fiber shed. So there's the Bananarama Lamarama, which is wonderful.
I'm distracted, don't mind me, because I keep seeing a furry thing going by my head and I have to give him a poke.
And then the next one, which I found so the other thing about Solitude before we jump in.
Let me try to feel it and say something.
Okay.
Nice, very nice. I love the colors. No, the dye job. This is very good.
One other thing that Solitude does is they like to educate people on.
Oh, they do?
On, yes, fiber.
Oh.
They also use very interesting and unique sheep breeds.
Oh, like the Lamarama.
The Bananarama Lama.
It's Lama.
Yes. And so the other one, which I found really interesting, is Montadale. I've never seen, and I do not know much about the Montadale sheep, but I know you know something about something.
Do I?
Yes. I have a feeling you do.
I could tell you a little bit about Montadale. So picture it, the 1930s. The Montadale was the beginning of a venture for a young fellow named E.H. Mattingly. So this is one of the very, like you say, sort of newer, very successful stories of this specific breed.
Okay.
If we think of in history of sheep, some of them have been around for centuries, literally. This is a relatively new breed, but a very, very good example of a success story.
And what country are we in?
We're in the United States.
Okay.
In the Midwestern United States. So this fellow, as a younger, interested in wool, thought one day he would love to develop his own breed of sheep, one of the a better, best breed of sheep. So you picture it now. In the now, he's a little later. He is now a well-established lamb purchaser. So he decides to get onto his journey that he's going to produce and breed a brand new breed of sheep that's going to have some excellent and new and improved characteristics.
Sure.
So in 1930, he purchases Columbia Ram from Montana. And then he decides, he was told, well, wait, take one step back. In his youth, when he was told this is what he wanted to do, his advice was, okay, what you're going to need to do is get a really good meat-producing sheep, and then marry it with a white-faced, larger breed, established breed of sheep from the Midwestern United States. So he purchased and decided he went with Columbia Ram, and he was going to breed it with the Cheviot ewes.
Okay.
So the Cheviot now, that is a very well-established, originally from Scotland. It's got hundreds of years of history behind it. It's a very excellent meat-producing sheep. It's a smaller breed of sheep with excellent meat. Now the Columbia, on the other hand, the Columbia was developed in the Midwestern United States, Wyoming and Idaho in the early 1900s. It's a larger breed of sheep with a white-faced, and it's known for its quality fleece. So away he went, and this was going to be his recipe for success.
Sure.
So he bred them early on. He bred the Columbia ram, with the Cheviot ewes. And then he decided to switch it up. After a few years, he thought, well, let's switch this up. And he had even greater success by then breeding the Cheviot ram with the Columbia ewes. And so this turned to be quite successful. And the Cheviot, I was going to mention, as I mentioned, the meat producing and the fleece of the Columbia, which was fantastic. So 9 years into the breeding, let's say, and they had these early Montadales. Yep. They then continued, this process of breeding and selective breeding, and to improve constantly, to establish these very well and very specific characteristics that were then beginning to take notice after a 15-year period. They were then going to fairs and exhibitions and competitions across the United States, and where they garnered quite a bit of attention and success, and they were well known. So by 1945, the Montadale Sheep Breeders Association was founded, and these sheep, what they're really known for is, what makes them unique, is the wool. So they have a micron count, very good micron count between from 32 to 25 microns. So it's quite nice. And then as well, their uniqueness is that they yield more fleece than any of the other average in that sort of category of sheep in the Midwestern US of A. So they yield a larger percentage of fleece. And the fleece has very little lanolin. So it's a very clean fleece. But on top of that, one of its even bigger uniquenesses is that it's an extremely pure white wool, which in our case is excellent for dyeing, because if you think about it, if it's that pure white and all of the dye stuff that you're going to use on it, it's going to be true to those colors specifically. Yeah. And that, in a nutshell, is the Montadale.
And this color is called the dark olive.
The which?
Dark olive.
The dark olive.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like a dark olive.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful color.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you said about the yarn, because it's nice. It's very nice yarn. It's springy.
It's very springy.
And it's that halfway between a rustic yarn and a non-rustic yarn.
Yes.
So it kind of straddles in between. It's really nice. I'm really interested in knitting this up.
Well, I'm always fascinated when we do the histories, because
is that skin? Would you say that's skin?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
too.
for
and
sure.
Definitely a hat too.
Yeah, great for outerwear, I would think.
Does it make my eyes pop?
It does. Makes your green eyes pop green. But as I mentioned with the history, it's always fascinating to me, because the biggest thing that I learned about that is because it's always about breeding for. We said this before. It's breeding for about the environment where they're going to live, because they need to adapt for the environment. Number one, so they're well fed and well bred, and they could grow and be healthy animals altogether. Then it's all about the wool and all about the meat. And if you could have a dual purpose sheep, which this one is, then that's even better. Some are just specifically for the wool, because that's what they're wool sheep only specifically. And in this case, that what came out of all of this and stood out was that it had that uniqueness about it, with the larger yield of fleece and the white, extreme white, that the that the all pure Montadale, that's what they have in common.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story.
I know, and he's just as excited as I am. Are you?
No, but I've never heard of it. So
I never heard of it either
so that was great.
Until I thought about it for a minute.
What a great find.
I know something about Montadale, and I'm going to share it with all of you.
And thank you, Solitude Wool, for that.
Yes.
Now, I think it makes sense to go, because you were talking about the environment in sheep, to go to our next one, which is Nash Island Wool and Yarn.
What's the grace?
So this was from Nash. This is from Nash Island Wool and Yarn. You'll have to go on the website to find out what graze is. It could be the.
What's all mean?
So.
Well, is it? This is dyed correctly?
Yeah. Right. I don't know if it's dyed correctly, but it looks like it's dyed correctly.
I mean, this is dyed correct? That was a question.
looks like it's died
I
correctly.
know now that I keep sipping on this coffee because normally by this time the caffeine has kicked in, but I forgot I just did a complete decaf coffee and I'm baiting a little bit. Can you tell?
Okay, so why don't you let me talk about this yarn for a little bit, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have along the way.
That sounds wonderful.
So we're in Rhinebeck, and we were in one of the buildings.
Yes.
And at the very back, there was a woman standing there with a fabulous sweater on, and it had lobsters on it. Do you remember that? And
Yes.
I went over to talk to her about her sweater, and then we were talking about the yarn, and so
That's what drew my attention first.
Yes.
Was the sweater.
Yes.
Both of us.
Yeah, and so
And I don't. Was that her partner?
I
He
think
had
so.
an amazing cardigan that was
Yes,
really
he
like
did.
For a guy sweater. I was like, I like that guy sweater. It was nice. And
Yeah.
I thought that's a nice sweater.
Yeah.
And then we started chatting. And then we started chatting as we do.
As one does. And we started talking about the wool. And so Nash Island is an island off of Maine.
Okay.
And there are sheep on Nash Island. And in the early 1900s, there was a lighthouse, which was fully operative, and there were sheep on it. And so there was the woman who owned the sheep decided to branch out when the lighthouse stopped being used, and she not only had sheep on her island, on that Nash Island, but a large Nash Island as well.
A large which?
Large. There's two islands, Nash Island and then large
Nash
Island.
Nash
Yes.
Island and a larger Nash.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
thought you were
there's
saying
two islands.
national. I didn't understand.
Sorry, it's my Canadian accent. Nash Island.
Okay.
Anyway, there's sheep on this island, and the woman who owned the sheep and the property, when she died, she willed it over to her neighbor, and her neighbor
Wow.
took over the sheep, and she was actually managing the right way, shepherding the sheep until she was 92.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it would be this beautiful property with a lighthouse, so it, on the ocean, obviously. It sounds incredible.
Well, and the sheep have been living there since the early 1900s.
Oh,
So you're
wow.
talking about the environment and the impact on the sheep.
Right.
And so the sheep that are there are a mixture between Coopworth and Dorset.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's really nice. I love this yarn.
And we've talked about
It's-
Coopworth before, haven't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
And Dorset.
Yes. But this
talked
is
about so
great
many sheep.
because you can tell that this is not dyed on a white skein.
Well, that's what I was going to mention when I thought it was dyed correctly. But I meant to say it looks like it's over dyed on grays, and that's why maybe the grays is because this is one of
Could be.
the grays. Is
Oh
the
my
sheep.
gosh, Jamie. I think you
figured.
figured it out.
Let me just go Google that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's this yarn. I love it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But
I love
the
that color.
The color
I
is
said that.
fantastic. I love the color too. So maybe I'll make something for you with this.
You heard it here first, folks.
So you have a good think about what it is that you want, and maybe you're definitely knit worthy. So I'll knit something for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So that is Nash Island wool.
That's a
and
fascinating
yarn.
story. I love that you think about it, that's an incredible story. There's a really good history there. That's wonderful.
And then just a little further down, there was someone selling buffalo or bison yarn.
Okay. Yes, I remember now.
And so I thought there were socks. They had socks there, and I thought this is a great gift for my dad. I know that's cliche to buy socks for your dad.
No, but these are
However,
special socks.
these are special socks, and they're made out of merino wool and bison down and nylon.
Oh, they're quite soft.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. And there's something special about them.
Yeah, they're like
Not just-
orthopedic type socks as well. So
Well,
what?
is it?
Yeah,
Oh, they're good support hose.
support hose.
I was going to say orthopedic. Sounds like geriatric. Oh, just for my dad. It's for everyone because that sort of for
Yeah.
your legs. If you're doing a lot of walking, a lot of standing, they're great support hose.
Support hose. Is that a term that people use?
It's for
Support
nylons,
hose?
but it's called. Ladies knows that.
That reminds me of those. Do
terminology.
you remember those nylons that were sold in an egg? Legs. Do you
When they-
remember they're called legs?
There's the
That
one
reminds me
because there's some that have tummy control. Those are the
Oh,
ones
yes.
I wear. And then
Are those Spanx?
after my Rhinebeck,
Or is that something else?
After my Rhinebeck donuts.
Are those
We're not
Spanx?
there yet. No, I don't know. It's Manx for men.
Oh, men. Oh, yeah, I think they're called Manx for men. Anyway, that's the socks. So, anyway, to wrap up our Rhinebeck. Rhinebeck was amazing.
Okay.
To me, it's all about the people and the animals. I love seeing the animals. It makes it different from a lot of the other fiber festivals.
And again, because like we mentioned, like Woolen Folk and the whole entire weekend, we're just so happy to be there that we didn't do we didn't go about everything as we would in past festivals.
No, and
I think it's because, I think it's because after the East Coast non-festival, we were actually at an amazing festival and we just wanted to enjoy it as much as we can, even more so than following the last, the last little adventure that we had.
Yeah.
So.
And my son has said, because I was talking to my son about it. I was going over the whole story with him, and he was paying attention to some of it.
Okay.
And he said, "Dad, I will go down next time and film, so that you don't have to worry about all of that stuff." Because we talked about it on the way down, and we planned on certain things, and it didn't happen at all because we just got sucked into this wonderful vortex.
And then I'll follow you around a lot, and then so it's not that much that we switch it up. So it'd be nice to see us both kind of just traveling through the show and meeting and chatting and seeing people, and then getting more of a lot that's going on because your attention is drawn to something and mine's drawn somewhere else, but I'm not going there. I'm just going where
shiny objects. It's the glitter.
All that glitters, it's not gold.
That's why.
But I like anything that glitters. Oh my goodness! What's that over there? I saw a twinkle over there. What's that? Anyway, I'm watching the people.
Anyway,
and for me, it's the same. It's not. It's the people.
It is. So to sum it up. Loved Cakepalooza, loved the setting, it was great. The vendor selection was fantastic, and people were super nice. Blown away by Woolen Folk and just the entire. I just advise, recommend that people go to Woolen Folk and Cakepalooza.
And there were others. There were others that we didn't make it to as well. So,
Indian Tango. We didn't even get there.
And we have gone there in the past. So it's you sort of have. It's almost now you have to pick and choose how you're going to spend your time.
Yeah.
Because there's these other places, but like you say, that's recommended. We recommend Woolen Folk. Yeah. And then Cakepalooza. We were part of those, and
Rhinebeck.
So happy that we were able to go there, and that was a really good choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Rhinebeck is. I love Rhinebeck too, or the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. It's just so different from anything else we go and see.
It's totally like, Wool Carnival. I've heard some people
with
say
everything
that before
though,
because you show up and it's an event. I mean, it's there's different there are different festivals, different types of festivals. The PI one would have been different all in its own, but there's some that are geared to marketplace, but this has everything. It has the auctions, it has the animals, the shows of the animals,
the sweaters,
the sheep, and then the people garments. And the knitted garments.
Yeah.
And so much going on there, and so much to see. It's like showing up at an entire big
and then
a wallop of a festival that combines all aspects of what you would think an agricultural fair, specifically just for sheep, not agriculture, but sheep.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything sheep and wool.
Yeah. So that was it. That was our trip. We had a great time. Beyond a great time.
It was incredible.
Still recovering from it. And I just highly, highly recommend it. And just wanted to thank everybody for watching. And
yes. And I think that in looking back as well is the love and hugs and people who make just make our hearts swell, our smiles on our faces, smiles all around, but everyone's just the smiles is what I have to mention. And just that shared experience that we all feel and have with one another. And it's all the wool and knitting that brings everyone together. And that, for what it's worth, is incredible.
Yeah, and yarn people are wonderful people. And
you're okay.
Anyway, just want to thank you for watching, and we hope you have a great week.
Thank you once again. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. En français, s'il vous plaît, à mes amis québécois, which we did see some of our Québécois friends there
Absolutely.
as well.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. It wasn't. Okay, and it's on now. Sorry. We can say one more tickets. Thank you, sir.